So without further ado, let me introduce our guests and we'll welcome them to our virtual Texas state. Becky Larson graduated with a master's degree in our digital media program in 2016, and she's a UX designer at USAA. And Rebekah Gould graduated with a PR degree in 2015 from us, and she is a digital product manager at USAA. They just met just now while you guys were waiting. I introduced them. So it's it's a very big company. They actually had some common projects that they were kind of talking about. So it's a big company, but there was some interconnection. Rebekah also has a strategic communication master's degree from Liberty University that she got since she graduated from us. So the first thing I want to do is talk about what each of your roles are. So Becky, maybe you can start with talking about what it is that you do as a UX designer.
Sure. So hi, everybody. I'm Becky. As an experienced designer, so I've done a whole lot of different things as part of the Chief Design Office at USAA. And I think that's like kind of the foundation of experience design is it can mean a lot of different things. And it's actually really valuable to have a lot of different skill sets on a team. So when I joined, I basically joined as a front-end developer. So I was doing, CSS, I was building not actual products, but I was building prototypes. So really thinking about like the design process. So starting at the beginning in terms of research and identifying what it is that the product needs to have in terms of features, how is a person going to navigate this? And then I was using HTML and CSS, jQuery, JavaScript to build prototypes and get those tested with our users. Since then, I've been at USA for about 3 years now, and I have a team of developers that I work with now I have some really fantastic front-end developers that I'm working with. So I'm not doing as much coding myself these days. And so now my daily duties really depend on what phase I am in a project. So it could be research. And when I say that, I mean interviewing users, asking them about an experience they've had or asking about what they would need in an experience, and then taking insights you're getting from those interviews and translating those into actual features that then you are coming up with the ideas and concepts for, testing those at like low fidelity. So just, boxes and arrows and wireframes, and then moving all the way to finish product design and seeing something through to being released.
So Rebekah, when you were in our program, we didn't really talk about product management that much, but this group, for the past couple weeks, we've been doing readings about product management, and I've done a bunch of research in the past few years about product management, particularly in media companies, so they saw some of the results of that and some interviews that I've done in the past. Talk about what you do and how you got involved with that.
Yeah, for sure. So actually, it's really interesting because it's not a role you hear about prior to accidentally finding yourself in it, like I have. So, you go to school and they talk about the standard PR people, and there's just a lot more to it, right? So I actually interned with USAA doing social media. And my follow-on internship was a digital media internship, which actually ended up being a product management role, essentially. So what I'm in charge of is anything, when you log into our app, anything you see there, I'm in charge of. So we're trying to make sure that whatever you see when you land in the app initially is what you need for whatever the reason is you're logging in that day. So it's really cool that Becky went first, actually, because we work really closely with our design partners for researching kind of what it is that members need from us in terms of new functionality, or if there are issues in our current app that we need to resolve. We do a lot of research prior to coming up with an experience, which Becky, her team helps us with. And then what I do is I take the data and the research and I make a case for why we need to do it. And then I help facilitate getting the developers writing the requirements for the changes. You'd be surprised how many requirements it takes to make one little change in a mobile application. Every little detail has to be called out. Even something so much as launching the app, right? What happens when I tap it? And so that's kind of what my job is outlining what the member experience is going to be and then helping make sure it gets executed correctly.
We should talk about the current situation. First of all, Becky works in New York City, so she lives in Manhattan, and obviously there's a lot of things going on in Manhattan right now.
Yeah.
And you work remotely anyway, but have things changed in terms of the work processes in your company because of the pandemic?
Yeah. I mean, it's changed. The whole company has changed to address this, and and they've put out statements, especially like in San Antonio, because there's such a big part of the community there. As everybody who can be work from home is working from home, and if they're not, then there's social distancing in place. Like they are putting a lot of effort into making sure that employees are safe, and members are getting like the service that they need. Obviously it's a financial company, so like this is not like low stakes. Like people need access to what they need access to, right? So it's very, very top of mind.
Money, insurance, those are going to be very key things for people going forward and having access to information. How about you, Rebekah?
Yeah.
How has this affected your work?
Well, I'll be really honest, I hate working from home. I get a lot of energy from, I guess, people at work, which I probably would have told you wasn't true because I'm kind of an introvert, but I think you miss out on the friendships. USAA it's a great company. They have great people. So like some of my closest friends are at work, right? And so I don't see them every day. It's harder to have those hallway conversations, but it has kind of leveled the playing field, right? Because we do have a lot of remote workers within our organization, and sometimes we forget about them, and not on purpose, right? But because you're on the phone and there's always technology issues, and if they don't speak up, then they get, left out. And so I think it's a really cool environment to all be on the same playing field, right? Even our offices in Plano, we're all on Skype together, struggling together. So there's not that, like, the people in person are overpowering the conversation. So there are benefits like that. And USAA moved their entire workforce nearly in like 3 weeks. And it was something they never thought was possible. So it will be really interesting to see, do people come back? Do they try to stay home permanently? Does USAA make a play at downsizing a little bit in terms of who comes into the building? Because our building is about the size of the Pentagon. And so you can only imagine how much money it takes to keep a building of that magnitude up and running.
It's so true. Like the leveling of the playing field. So as someone who's like worked from home for like the past year and a half, it's crazy having everybody else in that situation. So everybody is dealing with like dogs barking, kids like crying in the background, your doorbell is ringing. And where in the past, like I had to super duper police that stuff, because people that are not in that situation just like don't have as much empathy for it, and they might think it makes you like unprofessional or something because you're dealing with like those sorts of like home issues. So it's been kind of cool to see everybody like in the midst of that.
How's everybody in New York feeling? What's the feel there right now? How can you describe it for us?
It's a little intense. Like everybody that is out is in masks, and a lot of times like gloves, and you're very careful. You have to kind of suit up if you're going to the grocery store or something. Supply chains are getting better, so things are not as sold out as they have been. I will say today it was sunny, so there were a lot of New Yorkers out, because that's one thing that you can't like take away from New Yorkers. They are very good at policing their vitamin D, so they went out to get that where they can. But I mean, I think the city is doing a really, really, really good job at working very, very hard at this. Like every day at 7 p.m., everybody opens their windows and like goes crazy for all the healthcare workers and everything, and applauding for them, which is pretty cool. It's like, it's bad, but it's getting better, and everybody's coming together to try and do what they can.
New York is an interesting city that tends to come together in times of strife. But I assume that there's just a lot of odd moments where the streets are bare when they're used to be busy. Perhaps subways, if you're probably not getting on a subway right now, but
yeah.
I'm assuming the subway trains are empty, and restaurants having to do curbside or delivery that never had done them before and the adjustment for all of that. And then just like the sort of camaraderie that New Yorkers have, where they just like to be out in public and crush together. I mean, that is just a very different feel right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're very used to sharing a small amount of space with a lot of people, and your personal bubble just kind of shrinks. You know, you have your own small space, and you're fine with that. And it is very strange having it be so quiet and empty, and knowing that everybody is just kind of in their homes, like sheltering. I mean, I've been working, you know, in a 1-bedroom apartment with my wife for the past month now. I wrote like in my journal this morning, day 30 quarantine. So it's different. It's a whole new world.
If you all were to look at someone's portfolio, what, you know, first of all, how important is a portfolio, an online portfolio, and what would you like to see in a portfolio?
I showed the work that I did at Texas State and my portfolio at every single job interview I had after graduating, and I am positive was, you know, crucial to me getting hired. Also, just being able to answer questions and have, you know, because I was going in for a design role and specifically a front-end development role, I had to have, you know, the hard skills, and I was asked questions about CSS and how certain things worked, and the portfolio is really key. It doesn't even have to be it doesn't have to be slick. It doesn't have to look like something that they are expecting to be launched from their product. It has to be something interesting. So it just has to be something that you built, you put time into, there's some work on the back end, you know, or like there's something interesting to look at, something interesting that's interacting, that shows that you're the kind of person that's going to put the effort in, that cares about things that you're building, is curious. Like that's what they want to see in job interviews, because that's the stuff that they can't teach you. Like if you're not a curious individual who isn't gonna like pursue something and put the effort in, that's basically what they're trying to find out by your portfolio.
What I do think your portfolios can demonstrate is, to Becky's point, your creativity, your ability to create a solution to a problem and be able to see that solution through. That's a lot of times what we're looking at on resumes is, what have you done to prove to me that you have technical understanding or technical experience of some sort? For product managers, they're starting, especially digital product managers, they're starting to look for those technical skills, because you really have to understand how technology works in order to be a good product manager. There's just no way around it. So they're really looking for the convergence of a business mindset, familiar with technology, even if you can't code out an entire app, just even the HTML is enough to at least kind of understand how building websites work. And then the design aspect, being able to formulate a solution in your head, even if it's not beautiful. And then data, understanding how data plays a role in all of these. So if you're applying for a product manager role, keep that in mind. If your portfolio can display or showcase a lot of that, that's great. When you're writing your resume, make sure you are phrasing things like, there was this problem, I did this to solve it, here were the results. Be very result driven whenever you're filling out resumes for a product management role, because that's what they're looking for, right? Somebody who understands that process, because you can teach the technical skills, but you cannot always teach the comprehension piece of it.
Yeah, like I haven't coded in a long time because I haven't needed to in my latest project. Like I said, our development team is really well staffed right now. But the fact that I know how to talk about code and technical, services, APIs, the data, like people really, really want people who can translate, because there are a lot of people out there that are not good communicators. And so having someone in the room that can understand what different sides are saying and clarify it and, make it succinct and easy to understand, that's a great skill to have.
Look at the stable companies, right? Look at the companies that aren't going anywhere. That's going to be your Fortune 500s. That's going to be HEB, the grocery chains, all of the things that are in demand right now. People are still hiring, right? USAA is still hiring. We still have to put an app out there. We still have to answer phone calls. Like, you just have to be intentional about where you're looking right now.
There are a lot of opportunities at some of the larger companies. They're going to be a little bit less, impacted by some of this craziness. There certainly are a lot of small companies, both small in terms of number of people who work there and small in terms of like their focus or maybe their market share at this point. You'll get a sense of if this is a place that is doing well. I mean, I think that this kind of environment breeds innovation. So you're probably going to see a lot of new things starting as soon as the outlook starts to improve just a little bit. I wanted to work at USAA. I've been a member forever. I'm a military kid. I knew that they were a good company and that they were going to care about the things that I cared about. So that was really important for me. There are a lot of companies out there like that right now that are still hiring. I would say like 100% go with like a place that feels like the right fit. I will tell you guys that development, design, product management, those are jobs that are not going anywhere. Like those are skills that we really need. And a lot of times, like I think most people I know that are in those roles luckily have been very fortunate during this like crisis, and they're able to still work. They're able to work remotely. So like we were able to take our entire design organization remote, like almost immediately. I'm sure the same is true of the product management organization, because like we have great tools and we can do these things from home. So very, very, very fortunate. And because we're able to do that, our company is able to do what it can to contribute back to the community and try to help people who are not in that position. So I think that, if you're interested in these kinds of roles, they are great during an emergency.
Mm-hmm. And digital's not going anywhere, right? If anything, this pandemic is going to create new digital innovations that will be with us for years to come, because all of a sudden we were forced to be a remote community, right? So I think digital is a great, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's design, development, it's going to be a pretty safe environment, I think, for a long time until AI takes our place.
And that's still digital.
Still digital. Somebody's got to build it, right?
Right. You can still be connecting with people on social media and expanding your network. I just did 8 interviews with Texas State alumni, and I use social media to put them out there, and you all have access to my Twitter and my Instagram. You can retweet that, you can reply, and I put all their handles in that they had. You can reply and say, I really like the point where you talked about this, and then maybe start some sort of a connection with people. Particularly, these are alumni. They want to help you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just on the, current emergency, there are a lot of companies, even big, solid companies that probably are in a position to hire, that are slowing things down right now just so they can figure out how to handle the current situation, right? Like, so they might not be in a position where they're needing to lay people off or where they can't hire, but they just have like some crazy priorities to deal with. Like they got to make sure that their employees are healthy. They got to make sure that they're still functioning with everyone remote, and that their, users and members and clients, whatever you're calling them, are getting what they need. And then things will either start to improve, or we'll all get used to this and they'll, get back to hiring.
Another thing to consider is freelance work. I mean, if you can convince somebody, even if it's one of your family members, to let you redo their website for their small business, boom. Nobody has to know it was your mom, right? So you can play that up. So while you're maybe not employed by whatever company you're looking at being employed by, there's still ways to kind of get yourself out there and continue to add to your portfolio.
Well, let's thank them, and if you can unmute and let's give them a hand or give them some big ups, or whatever you can do, thumbs up. You can put emojis. We've got some emoji clapping on there. This is really a fascinating talk, and I appreciate so much your time. and your insight. And I'm just really proud of both of you. I mean, I have often had this experience where I have a student in class and I see how they are in class, and in a very short time, they become seasoned professionals with competencies and expertise that they didn't even know that they would have at this point. And all of you will be them. All of you in a year or two are going to be Becky and Rebekah. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Let's stay in touch.
You.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, like I'm sure, you know, Cindy is going to give you all our contact info. So
Yeah, for sure.
feel free.
Yeah, LinkedIn, any questions you have, even if you want us to look over your resume, just having a second set of eyes wouldn't hurt. Whatever we can do to help.
That's so nice of you. We appreciate that offer. So we'll let you guys go, and really everybody can go, but if there's anybody who needs to stay on and ask me a question right now, you can do that. Otherwise, the class is over. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Bye-bye.